Have you ever wondered how a Hollywood production convinced the US Navy to risk million-dollar fighter jets for a recruitment film? The F-14 Tomcats in Top Gun weren't just background props, but active-duty combat aircraft, and Tom Cruise's insurance policy specifically prohibited him from ever sitting in one during flight. Today, we're counting down 20 weird facts about Top Gun's F-14 Tomcat that will completely change how you see this legendary aviation film. From cameras that couldn't survive G-forces to a filming technique that required rewriting physics, these revelations might just blow your mind. So, buckle up, hit that like button if you love military aviation and 80s classics. And let's fly into the secrets behind the most iconic fighter jet in cinema history. Number 20. The Navy provided F-14s as a recruitment tool.
Okay, Rooster, get us a
Top Gun's production received unprecedented access to F-14 Tomcats and Navy facilities because the Pentagon viewed the film as a recruitment opportunity. The US Navy was experiencing recruitment shortfalls in the mid-1980s. Naval aviation particularly struggled attracting qualified candidates despite offering significant career benefits. Navy public affairs officers recognized that a glamorous Hollywood film could boost recruitment more effectively than traditional advertising. The Navy agreed to provide F-14 fighters, aircraft carriers, pilots, and facilities in exchange for script approval and portrayal control. The cooperation wasn't altruistic. The Pentagon calculated that the publicity value exceeded the operational costs. The military involvement required producer Jerry Bruckheimer to submit scripts for review. Navy consultants could demand changes ensuring positive military portrayal. Any content showing incompetence, dangerous behavior, or negative military aspects faced rejection. The strategy worked spectacularly. After Top Gun's May 1986 release, Navy recruitment applications increased 500%. Naval aviation recruitment specifically surged, with fighter pilot applications overwhelming screening capacity. The Navy established recruitment tables in theater lobbies, capitalizing on audiences' immediate enthusiasm. The film's recruitment impact exceeded all projections, validating the Pentagon's decision to support production. Top Gun became the military's most successful recruitment tool, demonstrating entertainment's power, influencing career choices. The Navy considered the aircraft and facility costs a spectacular investment, generating thousands of recruits. Number 19. Tom Cruise never actually flew in an F-14.
They knew who we were, we'd be dead already.
What's more of this? We can't outrun this guy. We got to eject. What? We need altitude.
Despite appearing to pilot F-14 Tomcats throughout Top Gun, Tom Cruise never flew in one during production. His insurance policy explicitly prohibited him from flying in military fighter aircraft. If Cruise were injured or killed in an F-14, the film's completion would be impossible, causing catastrophic financial losses. Paramount Pictures insurance underwriters declared F-14s too dangerous for the lead actor. The prohibition created massive challenges. The film centered on Cruise's character being a fighter pilot. How could they portray him flying without actually flying? The solution involved multiple techniques. Most cockpit shots were filmed in a ground-based F-14 mock-up. The aircraft sat stationary, while special effects created flight illusions. The mock-up could tilt and shake, simulating maneuvers, while Cruise performed against blue-screen backgrounds. For shots requiring actual flight with the actor visible, Cruise flew in the back seat of F-14 Tomcats as a passenger, never touching controls. These flights occurred during straight and level flying only, avoiding aggressive maneuvers. Stunt pilots performed all actual flying during combat sequences. Wide shots showing aircraft performing aerobatics used Navy pilots exclusively. Editors seamlessly integrated Cruise's ground-based and passenger footage with actual flying sequences. The deception was so effective that audiences believed Cruise piloted F-14s throughout. Cruise later expressed frustration about the restrictions, but acknowledged the insurance requirements were non-negotiable. Number 18. The F-14s were worth more than the entire film budget.
Both runways are cratered. How are we gonna get this museum?
Each F-14 Tomcat used in Top Gun was valued at approximately $38 million in 1986. The production used over 10 different F-14s throughout filming, representing nearly $400 million in military hardware. Top Gun's entire production budget was $15 million. The aircraft alone were worth over 25 times the film's total cost. This disparity created extraordinary insurance challenges. Paramount Pictures had to obtain insurance covering potential damage to the Navy's fighters. Insurance companies were extremely reluctant to cover such expensive military equipment. The premiums quoted were astronomical, threatening the production's financial viability. The Navy ultimately agreed to assume most risk. The aircraft remained under military control, with Navy pilots performing all flying. This arrangement limited Paramount's liability, but imposed strict operational constraints. The production couldn't request maneuvers the Navy deemed too risky. Filming schedules had to accommodate military operational requirements. The F-14s remained available for military tasking, meaning production could be interrupted if aircraft were needed for actual missions. The value disparity fundamentally shaped the production. Every scene involving actual F-14s required extensive planning, minimizing risk to the expensive aircraft. The production treated the fighters with extreme caution, recognizing that damaging even one would bankrupt the entire film. Number 17. The aerial cinematography required inventing new camera. Mounts filming, FAs. 14 aerial combat sequences required camera technology that didn't exist when Top Gun began production. Standard camera mounts couldn't survive the G-forces and vibrations of fighter jet aerobatics. The production needed cameras that could operate while experiencing 9G accelerations, extreme temperatures, and violent vibrations. Director of photography Jeffrey Kimball worked with engineers developing specialized camera mounts. The mounts used gyroscopic stabilization, keeping cameras steady during aggressive maneuvers. They were constructed from aerospace-grade aluminum, designed to withstand forces that would destroy standard equipment. The mounts attached to F-14's external hardpoints, normally carrying weapons or fuel tanks. Each mount cost approximately $40,000 and required FAA and Navy certification before use. The certification process took months, delaying production. The cameras themselves needed modification. Standard film cameras couldn't operate under sustained G-forces. Internal mechanisms would jam or fail. The production used modified 35mm cameras with reinforced internal components and specialized lubrication systems. Even with modifications, cameras frequently failed. Over 20 cameras were destroyed during production, crushed by G-forces or shaken apart by vibrations. The camera failures added approximately $300,000 in replacement costs. The successful camera mounts revolutionized aerial cinematography. The technology developed for Top Gun became industry standard for aviation filming. Number 16. Navy pilots received acting direction via radio during flights. The Navy pilots flying F-14s during combat sequences weren't following predetermined flight paths. They received real-time direction from the film's aerial coordinator via radio during flights. Director Tony Scott wanted dynamic, unpredictable aerial combat that looked genuinely chaotic. Choreographed sequences looked too perfect and rehearsed. Scott's solution was directing pilots during actual flight, treating aerial combat like actors improvising scenes. Aerial coordinator Art Scholl communicated with pilots during filming runs. He'd direct specific maneuvers. Brake left now, pull up harder, get closer to the other aircraft. The pilots would respond immediately, creating spontaneous aerial sequences. This technique was extraordinarily dangerous. Fighter pilots aren't trained to follow artistic direction while flying at 500 miles per hour. The divided attention increased accident risk significantly. Several near collisions occurred when pilots focused on radio instructions rather than flight safety. The Navy eventually restricted the technique after safety officers raised concerns. Later aerial sequences used more conventional choreographed flight paths. However, early sequences with radio direction have raw, chaotic energy, distinguishing them from more polished later shots. The technique's danger contributed to Art Scholl's tragic death. He was filming aerobatic sequences for the film when his aircraft crashed, killing him. The production dedicated Top Gun to his memory. Number 15. The F-14s couldn't actually perform some scripted maneuvers. Several aerial maneuvers written into Top Gun's script were physically impossible for F-14 Tomcats to perform. The screenwriters weren't pilots and didn't understand fighter aircraft limitations. When Navy pilots reviewed the script, they identified multiple impossible sequences. The inverted flight scene, where Maverick flies upside down next to an enemy fighter while giving an inappropriate gesture, was problematic. F-14s could fly inverted briefly, but not in stable formation, maintaining close proximity to another aircraft. The sequence required extensive preparation and multiple takes. Navy pilots initially refused, declaring it too dangerous. Director Tony Scott insisted the scene was essential. The compromise involved loosening formation standards and using telephoto lenses, making aircraft appear closer than they actually were. The flat spin from which Maverick and Goose eject was another issue. F-14s could enter flat spins under specific conditions, but recovering was usually possible. The script portrayed the spin as unrecoverable, which Navy pilots argued misrepresented the aircraft's capabilities. The Navy required adding dialogue, explaining the specific circumstances making recovery impossible. Several aerobatic sequences exceeded F-14 design limits. The fighter's variable geometry wings and heavy airframe limited maneuverability compared to lighter fighters. Maneuvers written for more agile aircraft had to be modified, matching F-14 capabilities. These compromises between dramatic vision and aircraft physics created ongoing tension throughout production. Number 14. The enemy aircraft were American F-5s, painted black. Top Gun's enemy fighters portrayed as Soviet MiGs were actually American Northrop F-5 Tiger, two fighters painted matte black. The production couldn't obtain actual Soviet aircraft for obvious reasons. The F-5 was chosen because its configuration somewhat resembled Soviet MiG-28s with similar nose shape and wing configuration. The deception required careful camera work. The F-5 and MiG-28 had significant visual differences that became obvious in close shots. The production used distance, speed, and camera angles obscuring details. The matte black paint scheme helped disguise the American fighters as foreign aircraft. However, aviation enthusiasts immediately identified the F-5s. Military pilots watching the film laughed at Soviet fighters with distinctly American characteristics. The production's technical advisors acknowledged the compromise, but explained genuine Soviet fighters were unavailable. Obtaining F-5s created its own challenges. The aircraft were operated by the Navy's adversary training squadrons, simulating enemy tactics. These squadrons had limited aircraft availability and couldn't dedicate planes exclusively to filming. Production schedules had to accommodate Navy training requirements. The F-5s could only film when not needed for actual adversary training. This scheduling constraint extended production and complicated logistics. The black paint scheme required Navy approval. The adversary training aircraft normally wore distinctive aggressor camouflage patterns. Painting them solid black for filming meant temporarily removing them from training service for repainting before and after production. Number 13. Val Kilmer refused to fly. After his first flight, Val Kilmer, playing Iceman, experienced severe air sickness during his first F-14 flight and refused to fly again during production. Kilmer's contract didn't prohibit flying like Cruise's did, so producers expected him to film in actual aircraft. His first flight involved moderate aerobatics, barrel rolls, loops, and sustained G-forces. Kilmer became violently nauseous and vomited repeatedly. After landing, he declared he would never fly in an F-14 again. The refusal created continuity problems. Ice's character was supposedly an elite fighter pilot comfortable with aggressive flying. How could Kilmer portray that without flying? The production employed similar techniques used for Cruise, ground-based mock-ups, and carefully edited passenger flights during calm conditions. However, Kilmer's visible discomfort was harder to disguise. He appeared genuinely queasy in some shots, which didn't match Ice's confident persona. Director Tony Scott tried convincing Kilmer to attempt another flight with anti-nausea medication. Kilmer adamantly refused. His contract didn't require flying, only acting. Scott couldn't force compliance. The production adapted, using Kilmer's stunt double more extensively than planned. Wide shots showing ICE's aircraft used Navy pilots exclusively. Close cockpit shots were primarily ground-based mock-ups. Kilmer later admitted embarrassment about his physical reaction, but maintained he'd made the right decision, refusing additional flights. Number 12, the aircraft carrier sequences required. Entire battle group coordination. Filming aboard USS Enterprise required coordinating an entire carrier battle group's operations around Hollywood's schedule. Aircraft carriers don't operate in isolation. They're surrounded by escort ships, supply vessels, and submarines forming integrated battle groups. The Enterprise battle group included approximately 8 ships total. Every vessel's operations had to accommodate filming while maintaining military readiness. The Navy's cooperation had limits. The carrier couldn't alter its operational deployment for filming. Production had to travel to wherever Enterprise was operating and work around the ship's schedule. Training exercises, maintenance periods, and operational commitments took priority over filming. Many planned shooting days were canceled when military requirements intervened. The 6-month filming schedule aboard Enterprise was actually only approximately 40 days of actual filming, spread across that period. The production spent weeks waiting for available filming windows. The carrier's aircraft operations created constant interruptions. F-14s launching and recovering every few minutes made filming impossible during flight operations. The production could only shoot during breaks in the flight schedule. The coordination required Navy liaisons, managing communication between Hollywood and military command structures. Misunderstandings caused frequent delays. The production's needs often conflicted with operational reality. The compromise satisfied neither side completely, but allowed the film to capture authentic carrier operations, impossible to replicate elsewhere. Number 11. The soundtrack outsold the film's box office. Gross Top Gun's soundtrack became a cultural phenomenon, surpassing even the film's massive success. The soundtrack album sold over 9 million copies in the United States alone, generating approximately $60 million in revenue. The film's domestic box office was $176 million. While this seems larger, the studio's share of box office revenue was approximately 50% after theater cuts. The studio netted roughly $88 million from theaters. The soundtrack's $60 million went primarily to the studio and music publishers, making it proportionally more profitable. Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins and Take My Breath Away by Berlin became #1 hits. The soundtrack's success was unexpected. Film soundtracks rarely achieved such commercial dominance. Top Gun's music became inseparable from the film's identity. The production's music budget was relatively modest, approximately $1.2 million for all licensed and original music. The 9 million album sales represented a 7,500% return on investment. The soundtrack's success influenced Hollywood's approach to film music. Studios recognized that successful soundtracks could generate revenue exceeding the films themselves. Top Gun pioneered the modern blockbuster soundtrack marketing strategy. The music videos and radio promotion became as important as the film's advertising. The soundtrack essentially marketed the film while generating independent revenue streams. Number 10. The opening carrier launch sequence. Cost more than some entire films. The spectacular opening sequence showing F-14 Tomcats launching from USS Enterprise cost approximately $1.8 million to film. This single sequence consumed 12% of Top Gun's $15 million total budget. The cost included aircraft carrier operational expenses, fuel, personnel, and equipment. Each F-14 catapult launch burned approximately 1,000 pounds of jet fuel. The sequence required over 30 launches across multiple filming days. Fuel costs alone exceeded $60,000. The Navy charged the production for carrier operational expenses, including crew overtime, maintenance, and diverted resources. The carrier's operations couldn't halt for filming, so cameras had to capture launches during actual Navy training missions. This meant multiple failed takes when aircraft launched at wrong moments or camera positions were incorrect. Failed takes wasted expensive jet fuel and personnel time without usable footage. The elaborate lighting setup required for pre-dawn filming added substantial costs. Massive lights illuminated the flight deck, creating the dramatic sunrise effect. The opening sequence's expense shocked Paramount executives who questioned whether any single scene justified such costs. Director Tony Scott argued the opening established Top Gun's scale and authenticity. The investment proved worthwhile as the sequence became iconic, appearing in countless promotional materials and establishing immediate credibility with military audiences. Number 9, real Top Gun instructors played themselves, but hated the script. Actual naval fighter weapons school, instructors appeared in Top Gun playing themselves but privately despised the script's inaccuracies. The real Top Gun school emphasized teamwork, discipline, and precise tactics. The film portrayed hotshot individualism and reckless flying, contradicting everything the school taught. The instructor's participation was mandatory, ordered by Navy Public Affairs as part of the military's cooperation agreement. Several instructors requested removal from the film after reading the script. Their requests were denied. The Navy needed authentic instructors for credibility. During filming, instructors would correct technical errors between takes. Many corrections were ignored when they conflicted with dramatic requirements. The instructors found this frustrating, watching their professional reputations associated with behavior they'd never tolerate from actual students. The buzzing the tower scene particularly infuriated them. Such behavior would result in immediate dismissal and court-martial. Portraying it as minor discipline issue misrepresented military aviation's safety culture. After release, real Top Gun instructors dealt with recruits influenced by the film, expecting glamorous individualism rather than rigorous teamwork. The school had to explicitly deprogram new students from Top Gun syndrome. Despite their objections, the instructor's presence provided authenticity that made the film credible to military audiences. Now, number 8. Kelly McGillis never actually went aboard. The aircraft carrier. Kelly McGillis, playing Charlie, never filmed aboard USS Enterprise despite her character working as a civilian contractor with carrier access. All her supposed carrier scenes were filmed on shore-based sets or other locations. Women were prohibited from serving aboard combat ships in 1986. While McGillis was a civilian actress not subject to military regulations, the Navy refused to allow her aboard Enterprise during operational periods. The prohibition wasn't absolute policy, but rather the carrier captain's decision, avoiding potential complications. Having a female civilian aboard during filming would disrupt crew routines and create distractions. The production built replica carrier interior sets in San Diego for McGillis' scenes. These sets included ready rooms, corridors, and offices matching Enterprise's configuration. The sets cost approximately $300,000, money that could have been saved filming aboard the actual carrier. Some scenes required appearing to show McGillis aboard the carrier. These used careful editing, combining her shore-based footage with carrier footage filmed separately. Wide shots showing the carrier used body doubles. Close shots showing McGillis were filmed elsewhere. The seamless integration fooled audiences completely. Most viewers never realized Charlie never actually boarded the carrier featured throughout the film. Number 7. The MiG-28 designation was completely fictional. Top Gun's enemy aircraft were identified as MiG-28 fighters, a designation that never existed in Soviet aviation. Soviet MiG fighters used odd numbers: MiG-21, MiG-23, MiG-25, MiG-29. The designation pattern had no MiG-28. The fictional designation was deliberate. The production wanted to avoid naming actual Soviet aircraft, preventing diplomatic complications. Using a real MiG designation might be interpreted as specifically targeting that aircraft or the nations operating it. Inventing MiG-28 allowed depicting enemy fighters without political implications. However, the made-up designation annoyed military aviation experts and Soviet aircraft enthusiasts. Aviation publications published articles explaining no MiG-28 existed. Defense analysts criticized Hollywood's casual disregard for factual aircraft designations. The fictional name became a running joke in military aviation communities. Pilots would sarcastically reference MiG-28 when discussing non-existent threats. Despite the criticism, the fictional designation served the production's purposes. It avoided diplomatic issues while giving audiences a specific enemy aircraft designation. Most civilian viewers never realized the designation was invented. The MiG-28 became part of pop culture, despite not existing, appearing in video games and other media, referencing Top Gun. Number 6. Goose's death scene. Required destroying a $300,000 canopy. The tragic ejection sequence where Goose dies required destroying an actual F-14 canopy, worth approximately $300,000. Ejection seats blast through the aircraft canopy, which is designed to fragment safely during emergency escape. The production needed to film this sequence practically, not with special effects. The Navy initially refused to provide an actual canopy for destruction. F-14 canopies were expensive, custom-manufactured components with long replacement lead times. Destroying one for entertainment seemed wasteful. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer negotiated extensively, eventually convincing the Navy by offering to purchase a damaged canopy from maintenance stocks. The Navy located a cracked canopy already scheduled for disposal. This canopy couldn't be used operationally, but was structurally intact enough for filming. The production paid approximately $150,000 for the damaged canopy. Special effects teams rigged it with explosive charges matching actual ejection seat canopy braking systems. The explosion had to be precisely controlled. Too weak and the canopy wouldn't fragment convincingly. Too strong and dangerous debris could injure crew. The sequence was filmed with multiple high-speed cameras capturing every detail. They got one chance, since the canopy would be destroyed. The successful shot became one of the film's most memorable and tragic moments. Number 5. Tom Cruise's helmet bore his real name throughout filming. Sharp-eyed viewers can spot that Maverick's flight helmet has Tom Cruise stenciled on it instead of Maverick or the character's actual name, Pete Mitchell. This wasn't continuity error, but production necessity. The helmet was Cruise's personal flight helmet fitted specifically to his head. Aviation helmets require precise fitting for safety and communication systems. The production obtained a genuine Navy flight helmet and had it professionally fitted to Cruise's measurements. Navy regulations required all flight helmets to bear the user's actual name for identification and accountability. Even though Cruise wasn't actually piloting aircraft, the helmet was registered as his personal protective equipment. Changing the stenciling would violate equipment accountability protocols. The production hoped the name would be too small to read on screen. However, several close-up shots clearly show Tom Cruise on Maverick's helmet. Aviation enthusiasts and detail-oriented viewers noticed immediately, generating discussions about the anachronism. The production never publicly acknowledged the issue, and most casual viewers never noticed. For subsequent films and promotional materials, the helmet name was digitally altered to Maverick to fix the continuity problem. The original helmet with Cruise's real name became a valuable collector's item after production. Number 4. The volleyball scene was shot in 45-degree heat. The iconic shirtless volleyball scene was filmed in San Diego during a heat wave with temperatures exceeding 105 degrees Fahrenheit. The scene required multiple takes over 2 days of shooting. Cast members were already exhausted from physical training regimens preparing them for shirtless scenes. Adding extreme heat created serious health risks. Multiple actors suffered heat exhaustion, requiring medical attention. Tom Cruise collapsed between takes from dehydration and heat stress. Production medics treated him with IV fluids before he could continue. The heat created additional challenges beyond health concerns. The actors were sweating profusely, requiring constant toweling between takes. Makeup crews fought losing battles against sweat, ruining carefully applied body oil and bronzing. The sand was so hot, it burned actors' feet. Several cast members developed blisters from playing barefoot on scorching sand. The production considered postponing until cooler weather, but the USS Enterprise filming schedule made that impossible. They needed the volleyball scene completed before deploying to the carrier. The extreme conditions actually enhanced the scene's visual impact. The glistening sweat and exertion looked authentic because it was genuine. The actors' physical discomfort translated to apparent athletic intensity. The scene became one of Top Gun's most memorable despite being torture to film. Number 3. Actual fighter pilots criticized the unrealistic radio communications. Military fighter pilots watching Top Gun immediately recognized the radio communications as completely unrealistic. Real fighter pilots use precise, standardized terminology and brevity codes. Top Gun's radio chatter featured casual conversation, unclear terminology, and violations of communication protocols. The "talk to me, Goose" type dialogue would never occur on tactical frequencies during combat operations. Fighter pilots maintained strict radio discipline with minimal extraneous communication. The lengthy radio conversations throughout Top Gun would be impossible during actual engagements. Pilots criticized specific terms misused throughout the film. Bogey indicates unidentified aircraft. Bandit indicates confirmed enemy. Top Gun used them interchangeably incorrectly. Tactical calls had wrong format and information sequence. Navy technical advisors attempted correcting the radio dialogue but were overruled. Director Tony Scott wanted audiences to understand conversations without military communication knowledge. Authentic radio brevity codes would sound like incomprehensible jargon to civilian audiences. The production chose clarity over accuracy, sacrificing technical precision for dramatic comprehension. Military pilots understood the compromise, but found it distracting. The unrealistic communications became a common complaint in squadron ready rooms whenever Top Gun was discussed. Despite the inaccuracy, the casual radio dialogue made the film more accessible to general audiences unfamiliar with military aviation procedures. Number 2. The F-14s were retired. 17 years after the film. The F-14 Tomcat, made iconic by Top Gun, was retired from U.S. Navy service in 2006, exactly 20 years after the film's release. The retirement was controversial among aviation enthusiasts and former Tomcat crews who felt the aircraft was prematurely retired. The F-14's replacement, the FA-18 Super Hornet, lacked some capabilities the Tomcat possessed. The Tomcat could fly faster, carry more weapons, and had longer range. However, the F-14 was expensive to maintain and operate. Each flight hour cost approximately $30,000 in maintenance. The variable geometry wings were mechanically complex, requiring extensive upkeep. Spare parts became increasingly scarce as manufacturers discontinued production. The retirement meant Top Gun's iconic fighter no longer served. This created nostalgia, but also marketing opportunities. The film's enduring popularity kept the F-14 in public consciousness long after retirement. Aviation museums displaying preserved F-14s prominently featured Top Gun references. The aircraft became more famous as a cultural icon than as military hardware. Interestingly, Iran still operates F-14s purchased before the 1979 revolution. These aircraft remain in service through improvised maintenance and black market parts. The Islamic Republic of Iran Air Force is now the world's only F-14 operator. An ironic legacy. Number 1. The film accidentally created a national security problem. Top Gun's release created an unexpected national security issue. The film's popularity made F-14 specifications and capabilities internationally famous. Technical details shown on screen were analyzed by foreign intelligence services. The close-up cockpit shots revealed instrument layouts, radar displays, and weapons systems. Soviet military analysts studied the film frame by frame, identifying previously unknown F-14 details. While most information was already available through intelligence channels, Top Gun consolidated it in easily accessible format. The Navy's Public Affairs Office received criticism from intelligence community for allowing such detailed filming. Some classified capabilities were inadvertently revealed. The film showed the F-14's rate of climb, turn performance, and weapons employment techniques more clearly than any previous public source. Foreign nations used Top Gun as training material, studying American fighter tactics and aircraft capabilities. The film became educational material for air forces worldwide. The security concerns led to stricter controls on military film cooperation. Subsequent productions faced increased scrutiny about what could be shown. The Pentagon established detailed guidelines limiting technical exposure in entertainment media. Top Gun's success came at a price. It made America's premier fighter aircraft's capabilities known worldwide. The intelligence impact wasn't catastrophic, but highlighted entertainment's potential security implications when featuring military equipment authentically. The F-14 Tomcat transcended its military role to become cinema's most iconic fighter jet. From recruitment phenomenon to security concerns, every frame of Top Gun carried consequences beyond entertainment. The Tomcat that Maverick flew proved that sometimes Hollywood's impact extends far beyond the box office.